Each city is a unique snowflake, but one city is probably the best. Just kidding, but today I am going to rank 12 cities in North Atlanta, and after I ran all the numbers, this was not the list that I expected. Hey, my name's Joel. I'm a local realtor here in Metro Atlanta, and this is what I do. I make videos to help people know what it's like to live here in Metro Atlanta, and every day I help people just like you make a move in or to Georgia. Let's get into it. Quick disclaimer before we jump in, there's no perfect city. It all depends on what matters most to you. But to keep things as fair and objective as possible, I created a scoring system across 10 key categories that most buyers care about. This is schools, safety, downtown, things to do, quality of life, location, home prices, outdoor activities, home valuation growth, and proximity to healthcare. Each city got a score of a 1, 3, or 5 in each category. 5 being top tier, 3 is mid tier, and 1 is bottom tier. Add it all up and the highest score possible is a 50. Based on the score, they'll go into either S tier for superior all the way down to D tier at the bottom. Now, some of this is based on hard data, and I really got into the weeds on it. I'm using third-party sites like niche.com, Neighborhood Scout, US News and World Report, census data, and then some of it is just kind of vibes and experience. I mean, how do you rate a downtown? Most positive Yelp reviews? Someone has to be the arbiter eventually, and in this case, it's me. This isn't gospel, but hopefully it's a helpful framework if you're trying to narrow things down. Let's kick things off with Johns Creek. Johns Creek sits in the northeast side of Metro Atlanta, right off the Chattahoochee River. It's a master planned suburb that has earned quite a bit of national recognition lately. In 2024, it was named the best suburb in the US by Travel and Leisure, and in 2025, named the best place to live in the US by US News and World Report. So with all that hype, one certainly has high expectations here, but I was very surprised at how this turned out. Let's break it down category by category. First up, schools, and it gets a 5. For this category, we're looking at all of the schools that one could be zoned for if you live in Johns Creek. Looking at their letter grade on niche.com and the rating out of 10 on gradeschools.org, and give it an overall assessment. Johns Creek is home to some of the highest rated schools in the entire state, including Northview High School, Chattahoochee High, and Johns Creek High, all part of the Fulton County school system. All 3 are gonna get perfect scores of A+ on niche.com and 10 out of 10 on gradeschools.org, with Northview in particular often ranked among the top 5 public high schools in Georgia. Easy answer here. For safety, it's a 5, and we're trying to be as objective and data-driven as we can here. So we're looking at data from neighborhoodscout.com. According to their analysis of FBI crime data, your chance of becoming a victim of crime here is just 1 in 157. For context, that's about 3 times lower than the national average, and the city gets an overall crime score of 61, which puts it near the top among all the cities that we analyzed. Downtown is where Johns Creek takes a hit. We're giving it a 1. There's no established walkable downtown area, at least not yet, but that is changing. The city has major development plans in the works, including the new town center project and the Medley mixed use development, both designed to bring retail, dining, and an actual community gathering space. But for now, those are just renderings and construction sites, and you're gonna need to go to Alpharetta for, maybe something a little bit more fun. When it comes to things to do, this is another area where Johns Creek underwhelms a little bit, at least compared to its neighbors. We're gonna give it a 1. While there are parks and a few local events, this isn't the place known for nightlife or weekend entertainment. Most residents are gonna drive to Duluth, Alpharetta, or even Sandy Springs if you're looking for restaurants, concerts, brewery scenes. And this is a little bit on purpose. It's a great place for peace and quiet, but not a lot of action. For quality of life, we give it a 5. Now, how does one quantify quality of life? So here's what we did. This score is based on a combination of hard metrics that measure both comfort and opportunity. We looked at 3 things. First, median household income, which in Johns Creek is $160,000. That's the highest in the area. Second, AARP's livability index, which gives Johns Creek a 51, measuring access to healthcare, housing, transportation, and some more things. And third, an upward mobility score, also from AARP, which gives Johns Creek a perfect score of 100, meaning children growing up here have the strongest chance of doing better economically than their parents. High income, strong infrastructure, and long-term opportunity, that's about as strong a combination as you can ask for. Next is location, which it gets a 3. Johns Creek sits in the far northeastern corner of Metro Atlanta. It's a little removed from the action, not super convenient to downtown Atlanta or the airport, but it's close to Alpharetta, Peachtree Corners, and several job centers. There's also no major highway or interstate that goes through it, so it's not the best location for commuting. But it's also not, terribly isolated either. For home price, it gets a 1. The median home price in Johns Creek is around $830,000, which puts it near the very top of our list. There are large homes, gated communities, and luxury developments, but entry-level or mid-range buyers may find themselves priced out very quickly. It's one of the most expensive cities in North America, but hey, you gotta imagine it's gonna cost more to live in the best city in the US. As for outdoor activities, Johns Creek gets a 3. It offers some great natural amenities, especially with its access to the Chattahoochee River, the Autry Mill Nature Preserve, and a decent network of parks and trails. That said, it doesn't have the same proximity to hiking, lakes, or wide open green space that you're gonna find in the more mountainous parts of North Georgia. Next is home valuation growth, which it gets a 1, which is a little surprising. We're looking at a rolling 12-month year-over-year change in home price to see if they are going up or down and by how much. Home values in Johns Creek actually decreased by 1.5% according to the latest data. Now, that doesn't mean it's a bad place to buy, but compared to other cities around that are seeing strong appreciation, Johns Creek is currently underperforming. Finally, proximity to healthcare, which it gets a 5. If you have a full-service hospital in your city, that's a big win. Johns Creek is anchored by Emory Johns Creek Hospital, and residents have quick access to major healthcare providers in Gwinnett and North Fulton. There's also a dense network of clinics, specialists, and urgent care centers throughout the area. Add it all up, and Johns Creek scores a 30 out of 50, which puts it in C tier. Listen up, I was surprised as well. If you're looking for elite schools, excellent safety ratings, and long-term quality of life, it's hard to beat, but you're also paying a premium for it and missing out on some of the lifestyle perks like nightlife, downtown, more walkability, not to mention the recent underperforming home price appreciation. For the right family, it's gonna be the perfect fit, but it's not for everyone. Now, let's make our way over to Woodstock. Woodstock is in Cherokee County along I-575 and Highway 92. This city has a smaller footprint size-wise, but it has been blowing up over the past 20 years, along with really most of Cherokee County. On schools, it's a 3. Most addresses here feed Woodstock High, Etowah High around the Town Lake area, or River Ridge on the east side. All of them get very similar scores in the A range, and an 8 or 9 out of 10 on grade schools. Safety lands a 3. Odds of becoming a victim sit around 1 in 81 with mid-level scores overall. It's a solid option, but when we compare safety scores to the others on this list, it just comes out more middle of the road. Downtown is a 5. This is the headline, a true walkable main street with a packed event calendar and a scene that stays busy on weeknights, not just the weekends. This is one of the most popular downtowns around, and for good reason. When it comes to things to do, it's a 3. Plenty of dining, some great live music venues, and lots of community events, but it's a smaller footprint than the biggest hubs, so you're gonna need to head elsewhere for something on a larger scale. Quality of life is a 3. Median household income is $105,000. The livability score comes in at 55, and upward mobility is 88. These are all great numbers and almost puts it in the top tier for this category, but it just gets edged out by some of the other options. Location scores a 3. Direct access to 575 and Georgia 92 keeps commuting pretty manageable, and it's pretty central to some of the other suburbs around, but ultimately just just maybe just a little too far north to get a better score here. Home prices sit at a 3. Median detached price is around $470,000. Not the best deal around, but also not premium North Fulton prices either. Solid middle lane. Outdoor activities, that's a 3. There are some great spots like Old Rote Mill Park, Noonday Creek Trail, and quick drives to Lake Allatoona make it easy to get outside, but ultimately, you're probably heading into other cities for more options. Home valuation growth is a 5. Rolling 12-month change is up about 7.6%, which is a big number. And I'll see all my Woodstock people in the comments to complain about property taxes. Proximity to healthcare comes in at 3. You can head south to Kennesaw Hospital in Marietta or head north to Northside Hospital Cherokee in Canton, but there isn't a full-service hospital inside city limits. Add it all up and Woodstock scores a 34 out of 50, which puts it in the A tier. Woodstock has a legit downtown, solid school ratings, very strong recent appreciation, and some easy outdoor access. The trade-offs are longer commutes and a smaller entertainment footprint than some of the largest hubs, but there are a lot of buyers that gravitate towards this town, and for good reason. Now let's go a little further out to Cartersville. This is a city that doesn't always get the same attention as some of the other big name suburbs, but if you're looking for a small town charm with a surprising amount of growth and infrastructure, this one might catch your eye. For schools, Cartersville gets a 1. While the local school system has been improving, it still lags behind compared to the other North Atlanta suburbs. According to niche.com, the public schools in Cartersville generally earn B2C ratings, and greatschools.org gives many of the schools more mid-range scores. Nothing terrible, but nothing exceptional either. For safety, it's also a 1. Based on data from Neighborhood Scout, your odds of becoming a victim of crime in Cartersville are about 1 in 41, which is significantly higher than many of the other cities that we're looking at. The neighborhood crime score is just 14 out of 100, indicating higher than average crime relative to other Georgia suburbs. Now for downtown, Cartersville gets a 5. This is one of its biggest strengths. It's walkable, full of locally owned shops and restaurants, and has a very cool historic southern vibe. I think it's one of the most underrated downtowns around. For things to do, Cartersville also gets a 5. It punches way above its weight with places like the Auto Museum, Telescience Museum, Lake Allatoona, Red Top Mountain State Park, Terminus Wakeboarding. I mean, for a city of this size, it's impressive how many options that you have. For quality of life, we're giving Cartersville a 1. Median household income is just under $79,000, which is well below the North Atlanta average. According to AARP's Livability Index, the city scores a 48, and its upward mobility score is a 75, both near the bottom among the cities that we looked at. It's still a great place to live for many, but by the numbers, it just lags behind. Location is another low point. This gets a 1. Cartersville is pretty removed from the rest of the metro, and while it does sit right along I-75, it's 60 minutes to Midtown Atlanta depending on traffic. If you work at a local factory and don't leave Cartersville, then no big deal, but if you were to go anywhere else, it's gonna be a drive. Home prices is a strength, and we're gonna give it a 5. The median home price is $355,000, making it the most affordable city on our list, and by a lot. You can still find move-in ready homes around $300,000, and that's getting harder and harder to say in Metro Atlanta these days. Outdoor activities, Cartersville gets a 5 again. You got access to Lake Allatoona, Etowah River, state parks, mountain views. This is a great spot for hiking, kayaking, and really just outdoor living in general. For home valuation growth, Cartersville gets a 1. According to the most recent year-over-year data, home values here rose by just 1.4%. That's technically growth, but it's on the very low end compared to the other cities. Finally, proximity to healthcare. This one's a 5. It is a smaller city, but does have Piedmont Cartersville Medical Center, which is a full-service hospital. More than you'd expect for a city of this size. All in all, Cartersville scores a 30 out of 50, putting it in C tier. It's a bit of a mixed bag in Cartersville. It has amazing outdoor access, a great downtown, and it's super affordable, but it also struggles in areas like schools and safety, and it's a bit isolated. For the right buyer, especially someone looking for a slower pace or more house for their money, it's still worth a look. Let's move south down to Sandy Springs. Sandy Springs is located just north of the Atlanta city limits, and it's one of the most urban-feeling suburbs in all of Metro Atlanta. It's dense, developed, and extremely well connected. It also has one of the largest concentrations of corporate headquarters in the state, with major companies like UPS, Inspired Brands, Mercedes-Benz, USA, all calling it home here. For schools, Sandy Springs gets a 1. It's part of the Fulton County school system, but the public schools here just don't stack up to the other North Atlanta cities. According to niche.com and greatschools.org, schools like North Springs High tend to bring a score in the B to C range and just receive, something like a 4 out of 10 rating. Safety also gets a 1. According to Neighborhood Scout, the chance of becoming a victim of crime here is about 1 in 52. That's still safer than the city of Atlanta, but higher than most of the other suburbs that we're going to be looking at today. The city has a neighborhood crime score of 21 out of 100, which places it toward the bottom of the list. Downtown, we give it a 3. Sandy Springs does have a city center, a relatively new development that's pretty walkable with retail, restaurants, green space, live music, all of the things. But beyond that core, much of Sandy Springs is pretty commercial and car dependent, so it's not as cohesive or charming as some of the other options around. Things to do, that's a 5. This is one of Sandy Springs' biggest strengths. You're right next to Buckhead in Midtown with easy access to some of the best restaurants, bars, and entertainment in the state. Not to mention the easy access to downtown Atlanta. If you want to be near the action, this is a great place to be. Quality of life, we're giving it a 3. Median household income in Sandy Springs is just over $101,000. Solid, but not quite top tier. AARP's livability score is 51 and the upward mobility score is 87, both right around the middle of the pack. It's a desirable place to live, but it doesn't quite hit the same numbers as some other options. Location gets a 5. This is another major win. Sandy Springs sits right at the intersection of 285 and Georgia 400, giving it direct access to Buckhead, Midtown, downtown, and the perimeter. You're close to the airport, close to major job centers, and right in the thick of everything. It's hard to beat when it comes to convenience and access here. Home prices is a 1. The median home price in Sandy Springs is $856,000, which makes it one of the most expensive cities on our list. Now, this is only detached housing, so if you want something at a lower price, that will need to be either a townhouse or a condo. Outdoor activities is a 3. There are some parks along the Chattahoochee River with some nice nature trails, even kayak launches. But again, because this is such a developed city, you don't get the same kind of big, open, natural areas that you're gonna find further out. Home valuation growth gets a 5. Over the past 12 months, home prices here have risen by 4.5%, one of the stronger appreciation rates among the cities that we analyzed. And finally, proximity to healthcare is a 5. Sandy Springs has 3 of the best hospitals in the state, all just across the street from one another. Northside Hospital Atlanta, Emory St. Joseph's, and Children's Healthcare of America Scottish Rite. Total it all up, and Sandy Springs scores a 32 out of 50, putting it in B tier. Sandy Springs isn't perfect. Schools, safety, affordability are definite weaknesses here, but it makes up for it with all the access, the lifestyle, and the economic opportunity. Now let's go north up to Canton. Canton sits in Cherokee County along I-575 right on the Etowah River. It's a super fast growing city right now. There's lots of development going on. If you want that perfect mix of a little rural, but you still have a Target right down the street, this is it. For schools, Canton gets a 3. According to niche.com and greatschools.org, Creekview High is an A- and 9 out of 10, Sequoia is an A- and an 8 out of 10, and Cherokee High is a B+ and a 7 out of 10. Solid results here, but not quite the elite tier that you're gonna see in North Fulton. For safety, it's a 5. Neighborhood Scout's analysis puts your odds of being a victim at about 1 in 159. And the neighborhood's crime score is a 59 out of 100, among the better results in our set. Now, we did average Canton scores with Holly Springs for these numbers, which, if you don't know, Holly Springs is like the Rhode Island of Canton. For downtown, we give it a 3. Downtown Canton proper can be a bit sleepy, but it's getting better every year as they continue to add cool new restaurants and shops. And then right across the street is the Mill on Etowah, which is a great event space and really kind of the better hangout space in Canton. For things to do, it's a 3. You've got a growing local scene, community events, and nearby options in other cities, but it doesn't quite stack up to the larger entertainment hubs around. For quality of life, we're giving it a 1. Median household income is just over $81,000. The AARP livability score is 54, and the upward mobility score is 73. All of these are just on the lower end compared to everything else. Is quality of life bad here? No, but other cities scored better. Location gets a 3. Canton is about the furthest north you can get while still being a suburb of Atlanta, but also has great access roads like 575, Highway 20, Highway 140, which makes it surprisingly easy to get around. Home prices get a 3. The median home price is around $535,000. More affordable than the premium suburbs, but not a budget outlier either. Outdoor activities is a 5. This is a major strength. You've got the Etowah River, Blankets Creek mountain bike trails, quick access to Lake Altoona, and the best access to the North Georgia mountains. Home valuation growth gets a 1. The most recent 12-month rolling trend shows a decline of about 2.8%. Do I see this trend continuing? No, but negative growth is never great. Proximity to healthcare is a 5. Canton has Northside Hospital Cherokee right in town. If you can get one of these hospitals in your city, huge win. Add it all up, and Canton scores a 32 out of 50, which puts it in B tier. Canton is safe, outdoorsy, and it's well covered for healthcare with pretty solid marks everywhere else. The trade-offs are going to be longer commutes if you're going anywhere else. There's softer price growth recently and a smaller lifestyle footprint than some of the bigger headline suburbs. Okay, let's head over to Milton. Milton sits up in North Fulton, just north of Alpharetta. It's known for its amazing homes and large lots. If you want a home that leaves nothing to be desired, this is where you go. For schools, it gets a 5. According to niche.com and greatschools.org, Milton High and Cambridge High both are going to carry A- range ratings on niche.com and 9 out of 10 on greatschools.org. This is top tier territory for public schools in Metro Atlanta. For safety, it also gets a 5. Neighborhood Scout's analysis shows your odds of being a victim at about 1 in 153, and the neighborhood crime score is 61 out of 100, among the best number in our set today. For downtown, it gets a 3. There is a small city center spot at Crabapple Market. It's got some nice restaurants and shops, but it's compact. If you want a bigger, buzzier Main Street feel, then you're probably heading elsewhere. For things to do, gets a 1. Milton is intentionally quiet. Very few nightlife and entertainment options inside the city limits. For concerts, festivals, and maybe a deeper restaurant bench, you're not gonna find it here. On purpose. For quality of life, it gets a 5. Median household income is $151,000. The AARP livability score is 50 and the upward mobility score is a 96. That combination of high earnings, stable livability, and strong opportunity is going to put Milton near the top here. For location, it gets a 3. You're close to Georgia 400 via Alpharetta, but there's no major interstate running through Milton itself. Commutes can be longer and more surface street heavy, but you're still within striking distance to some really key job centers. For homes, it gets a 1. Median home price is just over $1 million. That's the median. Beautiful properties and acreage drives that premium, but affordability is the trade-off. If you want something under $400,000, look elsewhere. For outdoor activities, it gets a 5. This is a signature strength. Equestrian facilities, Birmingham Park, miles of quiet roads and cycling, nearby greenways and easy access to nature without really leaving this suburb. For home valuation growth, it gets a 5. The 12-year rolling trend shows an 8.1% increase, which is incredible. Don't expect that every year, but that premium product just insulates Milton from any sort of larger economic downturns. For proximity to healthcare, it gets a 3. There isn't a full-service hospital inside Milton, but you're just a short drive to Wellstar North Fulton in Roswell, Emory Johns Creek, and Northside Hospital for Forsyth. Solid access, just, nothing right in town. Add it all up and Milton scores a 36 out of 50, which puts it in the A tier, almost S tier. Milton is safe, elite for schools, and fantastic for outdoor living with that rare rural feel that's close to the city. The trade-offs are price. There's fewer things to do right in town and a commute that's just gonna rely on getting to the access roads before you actually start going anywhere. I wanna take a quick pause and say, if you're thinking about making a move, take 30 seconds to fill out our Connect form linked below. We can set up a time to chat and I'd love to help you figure out which part of North Atlanta feels like home to you. And if you're still early in the process, then go ahead and grab the free relocation guide. It's packed with info to help you get started. Now let's head west over to Kennesaw. Kennesaw sits just off of I-75 with Kennesaw State University right in town. It's got kind of a small town character, quick access to some bigger job centers in Marietta and Cumberland, and it's really mostly residential, not a lot of commercial development here. For schools, it gets a 3. Your options are gonna be Kennesaw Mountain High, Hillgrove, North Cobb, or Kell High School. All of them getting solid ratings, but placing in the mid-tier among the schools in the whole metro area. Next is safety, and we're gonna give it a 3. Neighborhood Scouts shows your odds of being a victim at about 1 in 87, with a neighborhood crime score of 39 out of 100. Mid-pack compared to the other suburbs on our list here. The downtown is okay, it gets a 1. There is a small historic core and there's the new Depot Park, but the footprint is limited. There are some decent restaurants here and they have, some nice festivals throughout the year, but it's just not top tier downtown. As far as things to do, it gets a 3. You've got the KSU Athletics, town center shopping, especially along Barrett Parkway. There's local restaurants and breweries, and Kennesaw Mountain is right next door, but just doesn't match the depth of entertainment that you're gonna find in some of the larger hubs. For quality of life, it gets a 3. Median household income is just over $79,000. AARP's livability score is a 55 and the upward mobility is a 93. Really good scores from AARP, but it's just brought down by the lower household income. Location is also decent, it's gonna get a 3. You have direct access to 75, Barrett Parkway, Highway 41, which is gonna make local commuting pretty easy, but it's still maybe just a little too far away to justify a higher score. Home prices are a strength here. It gets a 5. Median home price is about $425,000, which is gonna make Kennesaw one of the more affordable options around. For outdoor activities, it also gets a 5. Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park, Swift Cantrell Park, and quick access to Lake Altoona give you hiking, biking, playgrounds, and plenty of green space right nearby. For home valuation growth, it gets a 1. There's no change, 0%. Now, that hasn't always been true, but that's what's been happening as of right now. And finally, for proximity to healthcare, it gets a 3. There isn't a full service hospital right inside the city limits, but you're just a short drive to Wellstar Kennesaw in Marietta and some other major providers in Cobb. So access is decent even if it's not right in town. Add it all up and Kennesaw scores a 31 out of 50, which puts it in C tier. Kennesaw is affordable, it's got tons of outdoor access and pretty well situated for a lot of the everyday conveniences. If affordability is high on your priorities, but you still want solid scores all around, then definitely take a look here. Now, let's talk about Cumming, Georgia. Cumming sits up in Forsyth County off of Georgia 400 near Lake Lanier. It's grown fast over the last decade, but there's still a lot of open space, especially over on the north side. For schools, it's a 5. South Forsyth and Denmark High are gonna be your standouts on the south side of town. West Forsyth is right behind them, and you can typically find a similar house on the south side over here for a noticeably lower price. Then Forsyth Central and North Forsyth are gonna be more middle of the road, but still solid options. Safety comes in at a 5. Neighborhood Scouts data puts the odds of being a victim at around 1 in 206, with a neighborhood's crime score of 70 out of 100, definitely among the best on our list today. Downtown gets a 3. They did build City Center not too long ago, so it's fresh, it's very pretty, but it's just not quite the walkable destination that you get in some of the other options. When it comes to things to do, also a 3. Families have plenty. There's parks, greenways, lake access, community events, but for nightlife, concerts, bigger restaurant scene, most people are gonna head, maybe somewhere else. Quality of life scores a 3. Median household income is $79,000-ish. AARP's livability score is a 56, and the upward mobility score is an 84. Strong livability and mobility, but income just trails the other North Fulton heavyweights. Location, gotta get a 3. Being right on Georgia 400 makes local commuting really easy and gives really good access to the job centers in North Fulton and South Forsyth, but it's a longer surface street haul to the airport or Midtown. Home prices are a 3. Median detached price sits around $586,000. Not cheap, not luxury tier either, a middle of the road price point for our list. Outdoor activities, that's a 5. You've got Lake Lanier, which is the largest lake in the metro area. Sawney Mountain Preserve, the Big Creek Greenway access, which is gonna give you miles and miles of runway if you wanna run, walk, or whatever. And a big menu of parks and trails that make outdoor living really easy here. Home valuation growth is a 5. Rolling 12-month change is up about 5.3%, which is fantastic appreciation year over year. Proximity to healthcare, also a 5. Northside Hospital Forsyth is right in town with full service care, plus there's a dense network of clinics and specialists around. Add that all up and Cumming scores a 40 out of 50, which gives us our first S tier. Cumming comes out as a powerhouse, elite schools, top tier safety, tons of outdoor options, solid appreciation, strong healthcare access. The downtown is okay. There can be longer drives for, maybe the big city entertainment, and prices are not a bargain, but the overall package is really hard to beat. Now let's head back west over to Acworth. Acworth is gonna be in the northwest side of Metro Atlanta. It's got this small town character. It's got a legit main street and some spillover amenities to Kennesaw and Town Center, maybe even Woodstock if you're close enough. On schools, it's a 3. An Acworth address could land you in 4 different counties: Cobb, Paulding, Cherokee, or Bartow, which have varying school records, so be mindful of where you're actually zoned. The better rated clusters that you're gonna hear about are Allatoona High and North Cobb in Cobb County, Etowah High in Cherokee County. Safety lands at a 3. Odds of being a victim hover around 1 in 77, and the local crime index sits, mid-pack. Better than several more inner ring suburbs, but not as low as some of the safer cities. Downtown gets a 3. There's a genuine historic main street with, locally owned restaurants, shops, plus some fun events throughout the year. It's charming, but just on a much smaller scale. For things to do, also a 3. Between parks, community events, and again, those spillover options in Kennesaw, you're gonna stay busy, but it doesn't match the depth of entertainment that you're gonna find elsewhere. Quality of life, also a 3. Median household income sits at around $87,000. The livability score is in the mid-50s, and the upward mobility lands in the low to mid-80s. Steady mid-tier profile here. Location's gonna be a 3. Quick access to I-75 and Highway 41 is gonna make local commuting really easy, but it's still a haul to Atlanta or the airport, especially during peak hours. Not to mention, you're on kind of the outskirts of everything if you want to hit up some of the other suburbs. Home prices are a 5. The median sits around $435,000 for detached homes, making Acworth one of the more affordable plays on the list while still being, close to big city amenities. Outdoor activities, that's a 5. This is the city with the best access to Lake Allatoona. You got Cobble Park, trails, boat ramps, plenty of green space, as well as Red Top Mountain State Park, which is also gonna be along the lake. Easy lifestyle win if you like to be outside. Home valuation growth is a 1. The most recent 12-month change is completely flat at 0%. Didn't go down this year, so that's great, but we'd love to see some more equity building. And then finally, proximity to healthcare sits at a 3. You're not gonna find a full service hospital within the city limits, but you're close to, major providers like Wellstar, Kennesaw, and Marietta, and some health parks scattered around Cobb County. Add it all up, and Acworth scores a 32 out of 50, which is gonna put it in B tier. Acworth is affordable, it's outdoorsy, it's small town-ish with solid schools if you target the right areas. The trade-offs are it's gonna be a smaller downtown, some average crime numbers, and no recent price growth. Next up is Roswell. Roswell is going to be right along Georgia 400 and the Chattahoochee River in North Fulton County. It's got a well-known historic district around Canton Street, Homes are mostly built in the 70s, and it's got quick access south into Buckhead and Midtown. On schools, it's a 3. Most Roswell addresses are going to feed either Roswell High on the west side or Centennial High on the east side. Both are going to be solid options, coming in at a mid-tier for our comprehensive school list. Safety is also going to land at a 3. Neighborhood Scout is going to put your odds of being a victim at around 1 in 68 with a local crime index near 31 out of 100. Safer than, in town Atlanta, but not the lowest around. Downtown also scores a 3. Canton Street is great. Tons of restaurants, and it's a really genuine draw for locals. It's just not the same community gathering space than, a lot of the other cities were able to achieve. When it comes to things to do, it's a 1. Outside of the Canton Street strip with all of those great restaurants, the after hours scene is pretty thin. Venues are limited, and any sort of big festivals and nightlife is gonna be a drive somewhere else. It's great for a low-key evening, but not a true entertainment hub. For quality of life, it's a 5. Median household income is $124,000. ARP's livability score is a 50, and the upward mobility score is a 97. These are strong scores all around. Plus, river access and parks that make day-to-day living really easy. Location earns a 3. Georgia 400 access is the win here, but rush hour bottlenecks on Holcomb Bridge and the 400 corridor are gonna be the trade-off. Running to the airport or if you're commuting into Midtown are doable, but you need to make sure that you time your travel just right. Leave at 7:15 instead of 7, it's gonna make all the difference. Home prices are gonna rate a 1. The median sits around $642,000 for detached homes. So you're paying a premium relative to many of the other options, and the homes tend to be a little bit on the older side here. Outdoor activities, 5. Roswell does well outside, mostly held up by the riverfront boardwalk and the access to the Chattahoochee. Lots of places to get in a kayak or 2 with lots of parks along the way. Home valuation growth is a 1. Recent 12-month appreciation has been soft here, just under 1%, which is just gonna lag a lot of the cities nearby that are seeing, stronger climbs. Proximity to healthcare is a 3. Wellstar North Fulton Hospital is right in town, and major systems are a relative short drive away, but you're probably heading to Sandy Springs just south if you need anything major. Add it all up, and Roswell lands at 28 out of 50, which puts it in D tier. Now, look, no shade to Roswell, but one of these cities had to be last. I think it's a great option. It just doesn't stand out in very many categories, and it's one of the pricier options as well. Here's a popular one. Marietta is next. Marietta is in Cobb County, just off of I-75, and one of the central powerhouses over on the west side of the city. It's central, it's lively, it's very well established. On schools, it's gonna be a 5. The East Cobb feeders are definitely gonna be the headline here. Walton, Lassiter, Pope are considered certainly the better options, and a big reason why so many people have moved here over the years. As always, be mindful of your zoning. Marietta addresses can land in very different feeders. Safety is going to be a 1. Crime runs higher here than many of the suburbs on this list. Odds of becoming a victim sit around 1 in 32, and Neighborhood Scout gives it an overall safety rating of only 9 out of 100. Now, Marietta is huge, so that's going to vary by neighborhood, but metric-wise, that will be the lowest on our list. Downtown's gonna be a 3. Marietta Square is fantastic. Restaurants, festivals, the Strand Theater, and a steady calendar of events throughout the year. It's a fun scene, but maybe just a bit on the older side to warrant a higher number. When it comes to things to do, 5. Between the Square's dining that we just talked about, the higher end shopping centers, Kennesaw Mountain is right there, and a very quick trip to the Braves games and the Battery. You will not be bored here. It's one of the more activity rich centers on the west side of town. Quality of life, 1. Median household income is only $70,000 here. The livability score lands at 55 and the upward mobility score comes in at 77. Solid day-to-day amenities, but much lower on income and the possibility for generational growth. Location is going to be a 5. Direct access to I-75, Cobb Parkway, and the Cumberland Job Hub is going to make this one of the most convenient bases in the metro. Plus, Midtown and the airport are very doable, especially with smart timing. For home prices, it's a 3. The median detached price is around $485,000. Not bargain territory, but certainly more attainable than some of the other premium suburbs. Outdoor activities also 3. There are plenty of great spots that are nearby, but not a lot that's actually in Marietta itself. Home valuation growth is a 1. Recent rolling 12-month appreciation has been pretty modest, roughly only 1.1%, which is, just on the low side. We'd like to see that be higher. Proximity to healthcare, 5. Wellstar Kennesaw Hospital is the big draw right in Marietta, with specialists and lots of clinics clustered right nearby. Big perk to have access and convenience to this. Add it all up and Marietta scores a 32 out of 50, which puts it in the B tier. Marietta does have a true downtown center. There's lots to do. There's exceptional schools if you land in the right area, and it's gonna be hard to beat location-wise. Trade-offs are going to be higher than average crime in parts of the city, not great appreciation recently, and prices that are not exactly cheap, but for a lot of buyers, the lifestyle and location are going to more than make up for the difference. All right, last up is Alpharetta. Alpharetta sits up in North Fulton along Georgia 400 with a very suburban feel and tons of commercial development. It's polished, it's active, and one of the most in-demand addresses in the metro. On schools, 5. Most Alpharetta addresses are going to feed either Alpharetta High on the west side and Cambridge on the east. Both are going to be regarded as top tier, but Alpharetta also dips into other top tier school districts like Johns Creek High, Chattahoochee, Milton, Denmark, all of them considered some of the best schools in the state. Safety checks in at a 3. Odds of becoming a victim run about 1 in 60, and overall crime readings sit in the mid-20s out of 100. Safer than some, not as low as the quietest suburbs. Downtown Alpharetta is a 5. Alpharetta is the golden child here between the walkable restaurant scene, the live music, the farmers markets, and year-round events. Downtown Alpharetta is among the best around. And just down the road, Avalon adds another full slate of shopping, dining, and community space just a mile away. When it comes to things to do, also a 5. The mix here is hard to beat. Dining depth, large concert venues like Ameris Bank Amphitheater, arts events, seasonal festivals, and quick hops into, Roswell, Cumming if you want to change the scenery just a little bit. Quality of life, again, a 5. Median household income sits around $146,000. Livability scores are in the low 50s and the upward mobility is in the high 90s. Strong earnings, stable day-to-day comfort, and some real opportunity here. Location is gonna get a 5. Georgia 400 runs right through the middle, giving you quick access to pretty much everything on the east side of Atlanta, and because of so many tech companies located here, you're probably not having to commute anywhere else. In fact, most everyone is probably commuting to where you live. Home prices come in at a 1. The median detached price is in the mid 800s, which is certainly premium territory. Renovated or walkable pockets can even push that a lot higher. You get the lifestyle, but you're gonna pay for it. Outdoor options are a 3. The Big Creek Greenway starts here. Webbridge Park is definitely a favorite, but you're not gonna find the wide open mountain adjacent feel that you're gonna get maybe just a little bit further north. Home valuation growth is a 3. The recent 12-month change sits at a 1.4%. Just a little bit of growth, but hopefully we get a better year next year. Finally, proximity to healthcare is a 3. Full-service hospitals sit just outside the city limits. Wellstar North Fulton and Roswell, Emory Johns Creek on the east side, and Northside Hospital Forsyth up Georgia 400. All close, but not inside Alpharetta proper. Add it all up, and Alpharetta scores a 36 out of 50, which is gonna place it in the A tier. This is the polished, amenity-rich North Fulton experience. Standout schools, real downtown, deep lifestyle options, and prime access. The trade-off is price and maybe just a little less raw nature than, further north cities. But for a lot of buyers, the blend is exactly what they're going for. That's the list, and again, I did not see a lot of that coming. If you've made it this far, thanks so much for hanging out with me. Remember, this isn't just about declaring one perfect city. It's about helping you find the best fit for your budget and your lifestyle. If you've got more questions or you want help figuring out your next move, I'd love to hear from you. You can take 30 seconds to fill out our Connect form down in the description. We're gonna be happy just to reach out to you. If If you'd rather keep things maybe more low-key and on your own time, I've put together a free relocation guide that you can download and check out whenever it's convenient for you. Or if you're just in research mode, stick around, just watch some more videos. I'll see you in the next one.